So in this video, I want to talk about the syllabus. Where would you find the syllabus? Well, on our LaLima site, you go to the introduction syllabus and introductory videos. And when you do that, it's right here. Obviously, it'd be something you can download. If you click on these little two arrows here, you can see that you can download it, open it up bigger, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to look at it in Google Docs just because that's where I authored it and we can kind of see it a bit bigger. Now, I do this and I know you can all read and, you don't need someone reading the syllabus to you, but the syllabus is pretty important. I don't like thinking of it the way that, that my colleagues think of it like a contract that just sounds, I don't know, it sounds a little dirty to me. It shouldn't be like that, but it does align my expectations of you with what your expectations can be about how I'll react to certain situations. That's a good thing that I guess a contract does as well. But again, don't think of it like a contract. Think of it as basically, again, you as students being able to know what to expect of me. So let's start. First, I list my office location. I'm in the E building, 217. Quite frankly, I'm not there that often. I also am at the Manoa campus, and I'm at the Manoa campus 4.5 days a week. So most of the time I'm in Manoa. That doesn't mean you can't come by or email me to say, hey, come by. But most of the time, I'll try to resolve things with Zoom, right? Or I guess by phone, I guess, or we could do FaceTime, any of those things. But probably coming to my office is pretty pointless because I'm usually at the Manoa office. That would also mean they're calling me. You'd have to leave a voicemail because the phone is at the West Oahu, is at West Oahu. So I do get an email notification that I've got a voicemail, but probably just like yourselves who never listen to your voicemails, I can't promise you I'll listen to the voicemail. So you're really best off emailing me. I know it just sounds weird to give you all those limitations of how I'm acting, but again, it's good to know how to reach me. And email would be the way. As you can see here, I am on email. um, Now, let's talk about this. This is an online course, obviously. We meet asynchronously, meaning there are no required lecture times. There are two sections of this class. You're either in section 1 or section 2. So our two sections are combined here into a single LaLima course. This is a 3-credit course, and it's a DS course, meaning it's a diversification course. It meets your gen ed requirements. I've listed my office hours here, partly because I'm required to have office hours, but I cannot think of any time I've been legitimately accused of not being available to students. It's one thing I actually do quite well, if I can brag about myself. All you would have to do is email me and say you want to meet with me, and I'll give you a Zoom link and we will meet. You're not really beholden to these hours. I don't feel beholden to these hours either. That's why I'm asking if you want to meet with me during these times, email me and tell me so that even I know to be logged in. But I largely try to keep my schedule free during this hour period, and it would be a bit rare that you would get a response back from me saying, I can't meet you then, and I can't meet you ever. That would be unusual. Okay, we have our official description of the course here. I did not author this. It's a very badly written second sentence, but it is not authored by me. Instead, I describe the course to you here. Basically, this is an introductory economics course. For many of you, you're required to take two, both Econ 130 and 131. You can take them in any order that you want. Generally speaking, my colleague, Dr. Yu, focuses on teaching the Econ 130 class, and I, generally speaking, focus on teaching the 131 class. I don't think she and I teach that differently. So I don't think it'll be that big of a transition for you if you've already taken 130. But if you haven't taken 130, um, basically the first 3 chapters are going to be the same in both courses. So either you're going to be bored because you already had it in 130, or maybe you didn't pay attention in 130 to the first 3 chapters and you'll be seeing it for the second time, but seeing it really perhaps a little bit better. Or you'll be seeing it truly for the first time because it's your very first economics course. In any of these cases, I don't go any faster through the material or anything like that. There's no presumption that you know anything about economics in this course. We've got our learning outcomes here. These are important, if generally speaking. I don't map them out like other professors do or anything like that, but they are important because what they do is they ensure that I'm delivering something lasting to you after this course is done. Now, how am I going to assess you in this class? This is generally a pretty important thing. We have some analysis papers here, news analysis papers. There are 6 of them. There are going to be 13 homework assignments. That's worth 10%. The analysis papers are worth 10%. Together, these things are worth 20%, which is the same weight as the 6 quizzes together, which is 20%, and each of the 3 exams worth 20%. There is a rhyme or reason to why I'm doing it that way, right? Because you could be a bad test taker. Well, if you are a bad test taker, that would obviously you'd not do as well then on the quizzes or the 3 exams. But at least, right, you'd have something that's impactful. That's still the analysis and the homework. That would be worth at least the equivalent of a single exam. But I've seen it more often case, not that a student says that they're a bad test taker and they fail the class because they've done bad on all these things. Rather, they're an overly good test taker and then they think that they don't need to do the homework or the analysis papers. And then they end up with a B or a C or a D in the class because they chose not to do the homeworks or analysis papers. I know what you're thinking. You'd be like, who would be so dumb as to do that? But I promise you, every semester, there's at least one student who makes that decision. In my opinion, that's a dumb decision, but it is a decision you are open to making any way you want to. If you've watched my other videos so far here, the thing that differentiates the quizzes and the exams and the homework is that the homeworks are not proctored. You can do them multiple times. And the idea would be is that you will do them multiple times in order to get a score of 100%. The quizzes and exams, on the other hand, can only be done once, and these are proctored electronically. And again, I've made a different video that talks about these proctoring settings, and we are going to have a sample assignment where you can even see these proctoring limitations so that you can be prepared technologically speaking with this proctoring. Why am I doing it? Again, I'm repeating myself from the other video, but the reason why I'm doing it, and this is the first semester I'm doing it, the reason why I'm doing it is that I'm trying to work through this idea that the class average in my online sections is almost 15% greater than in my in-person sections. And so somehow I need to reduce that difference. It doesn't mean that I think students are cheating and that that's how they're getting higher percentages. Rather, I think that it's a bit more resources available, which I don't think is cheating, just having more resources available. It's just that it's more resources than a student in the in-person sections would have. Here's our textbook, Macroeconomy Today. I've made a separate video talking about the textbook so you can watch that video. But this is an IDAP course, which means, again, that your student account is being automatically billed for this, for the textbook. These are your dates to keep in mind. You should go to the UH academic calendar to get your official dates. This is just what I took from it. Classroom policies. I really, really don't like people being late with things. It just makes my job so much more difficult. It really, truly does. It's not me, and I would not say this, it's not me saying the real world works where there are deadlines and you have to adhere to them. that's pretty rare that you have to strictly adhere to a deadline. Most of the time, you do have some freedom to get around things and whatnot. No, it's just that it's so difficult to give students an exemption or an extension or something else. It's just that the default will be that you will get a 0 if it is late. Now, if you've watched my other video, I do give you a little bit of leeway, but there's a slight penalty. So things are due basically every 2 weeks, but you can submit something up to 2 days late, but it is going to subtract 2% for every hour that you are late, which is better than a 0. But if it takes you even longer than 2 days to do it after the deadline, then you should just accept that you will get the 0 unless your excuse is fantastically great. I'm not stopping you from emailing me. I don't mind reading excuses. It's just that I can't promise you I will respond in the way that you want me to respond. Okay, so that's our classroom policy. Learning challenges and accommodations, these are important. You would basically know it if you need some academic accommodation in some way. I am not the professional that determines these things, though. That would be where you need to talk to Access Services. There's their website, there's their phone number, right? There's the email address. You would reach out to the ADA coordinator, and that person then tells me what I need to do. I am not equipped to be that person. Now, some of you may need help in this course. That would be where you reach out then to a tutor through the No Way Out Center, and that tutor would be able to help you with things. Here's our statement on non-discrimination. This is important as well, especially as the university itself becomes more politicized. This should not obviously be a course where discrimination or harassment should exist. If you feel like, even listening to my lectures or anything like that, I try to keep my opinion out of most things because you're not paying me for taking this course to hear my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm going to not say my opinion from time to time, but there obviously should not be any harassment or discrimination contained in this course. If you feel that it does, you're obviously always welcome to reach out to me first, but I understand that that could be uncomfortable as well, right? If you're thinking I'm a horrible person because I'm acting in a harassing or discriminatory way, well, you're a person that you should reach out to then. And I would encourage you, not only in this course, but any of your courses, to reach out to the Title IX coordinator. And that person would then help you kind of navigate what you're encountering. But again, you should be an open environment where you would hopefully feel free to talk to me first. But again, I won't take any offense at it. If I'm acting in a way that's counter to this statement, then you should totally reach out to Title IX. We have our code of conduct. It means that we treat each other in a way that is healthy, and you are required to abide by that code of conduct. And there is the code of conduct right there. Then we have our academic honesty, and added on to that, artificial intelligence. Now, this is also new to my course. I don't know what to say about this. Here's the thing I can say. Artificial intelligence is relatively new. We're all trying to learn about it, but you should not be using it in this class. The way that things are submitted, it's difficult to determine whether artificial intelligence is being used, but there are ways to kind of sort through things. And there is, to some extent, a way that I can kind of see whether it contains artificial intelligence generated content. I run it through a service like through Turnitin, which used to be used for students like copying from each other, but it also now detects artificial intelligence and it generates a score. It's not perfect, but We do have these news analysis papers that you're going to be writing. Do not use artificial intelligence with it. Do not use it. Because you may then get a email from me saying that you need to send me some documentation that you wrote what you wrote. What would that documentation look like? Well, if you did it in as a Google Docs, it's pretty easy to actually show me the documentation, because you could click here the version history, the editing history, and right it shows how long someone spent on writing things, right? And you could have all these different versions. You could see all these edits, and it would be clear to me if I saw all these things from what you did. It would be clear to me that you wrote it. Microsoft Word also does generate tracks how you're working on a document. You would just need to basically make sure either you're doing it in Google Docs or in Word, and that it's documenting your writing of the document itself. The grading scale. This is our grading scale as given to us by the university. This is also a little bit new for me, but I am not going to be rounding scores. It's just difficult to do. It's difficult to do. It's difficult to do consistently. And I say this because, again, you run into these situations, as I put here in parentheses, where a person could have a 0.49, and does that person really then belong in the 90% A minus, as opposed to someone who just, through the luck of things, got a 0.51, which then gets rounded up to or 92.99, which then gets rounded up to a 93, which then ends up with an A. So no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick to this scale, and I know it may not seem fair, but it actually is. It means that I'm not playing favorites. It means that the scores will be quite transparent with what your score is to the 100th place, and you'll know how that score turns into a letter grade. Okay, and then the final thing for this syllabus is our schedule. So you'll notice here that basically every 2 weeks you have a deadline for basically 2 chapters every 2 weeks. So that's 1 chapter a week, or you could do 2 chapters in 1 week. I'm not going to dictate to you how you do that, but you'd have 2 graded homework assignments, a news analysis, and a quiz. That would be what you could expect that you need to do every 2 weeks. A quiz that's covering both of the chapters, a news analysis paper, which I'll talk about more in a different video, and 2 homework assignments. So same for week 3 and 4. And then after that, after 4 chapters, there's then an exam, which I give you an entire week to do. It opens at the beginning of that week and then closes at the end of that week. Right, so you could start that exam early in the week and then have the rest of the week off, or whatever. You get to decide those things. And then you'll see weeks 6 and 7, again, 2 chapters. Weeks 8 and 9, 2 chapters. And then week 10, your second exam, right before spring break. Then we've got spring break. Then we've got week 11 and 12, again, 2 chapters. And then just the way that things work out, we've got the last 2 weeks, weeks 13 and 14, where we have to squeeze in 3 chapters. So a little bit of an apology for that. But we do that so that we don't have the exam during finals week. Rather, we have the 3rd exam during the last week of class, so that you're actually done by week 15, end of week 15. It's not a comprehensive exam or anything like that. It's just a 3rd exam. Okay, that's our syllabus.